Cape Cod Broadcasting weaves the listening environments of 99.9 WQRC, Ocean 104.7, WFCC Classical 107.5, Cape Country 104, and CapeCon.com's website experience to reflect the lifestyles of the people who live, work, and play on Cape Cod. We hope that you enjoy this podcast.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal. I'm here in the studio with Falmouth Fire Chief Mark Sullivan and Kim Strohm, his administrative assistant, and also the town's Assistant Emergency Management Director. We are talking about the second annual Community Emergency Preparedness and Fire Prevention Fair, which is taking place on Saturday, October 4th from 10 to 2 at the Gus Canty Community Center this year. Welcome to the show to you both.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Let's start with Chief, this is National Emergency Preparedness Month. What is the significance of that month for those of you who are in the emergency preparedness field?
This is the month that we try and really get out the word. We try and get out the word all year round about people to be help prepared, to be prepared for any type of an emergency event, but especially during this month of September because it is National Preparedness Month.
And then the idea of having this fair came about last year, I guess, where you had the first version of the fair. How did the idea come about to have this special event? Kim?
Well, we found that during the February 13th blizzard, known as Nemo, when we opened the regional shelter at Falmouth High School, people were coming and they were completely unprepared for sheltering. They were basically coming with the clothes on their back, no medications, nothing to sustain for several days. And those that did not come to the community shelter were trying to shelter in place, and they spent several days in their homes without heat or electricity, without a way of keeping warm or cooking for themselves. They couldn't get to the grocery store to get certain supplies. And so it was really an eye-opener to the fact that our community was completely unprepared for those types of emergencies.
So you decided to have this fair, and it's really the only one on the Cape, is that right?
Yes, as far as we know it is.
And so, and what types of things will people find if they come to the fair?
Well, we have the usual suspects that will be there with a lot of emergency preparedness information, such as Massachusetts Emergency Management Association, our Community Emergency Response Team. We will also have the Barnstable County Regional Emergency Management Planning there. But we have a lot of other entities sort of thinking outside of the box because it's all-encompassing. We want to reach out to every possible avenue. So there will be financial planners for, disaster planning. We also have Coonamessett Farm coming in to speak about sustainable gardening, to be able to, grow your own foods and have that avenue as well. There are over 50 participants in this event.
And do you have a list of those participants? Can we name some of them for people? I know you've just named some of them just now, but who are some of the others of the 50?
Certainly. The Red Cross will be there, Cape Cod RTA. We also have the Cape Cod VNA. We have our Falmouth Human Services, the Falmouth Service Center, Capabilities, the Barnstable County Sheriff's Department will be there, Cape Cod Volunteers. We have Eastman's Hardware from Main Street Falmouth, the Falmouth Council on Aging, Upper Cape Chaplaincy, Commission on Disabilities, Mass Maritime Academy will be there. I did mention Coonamessett Farms, D's Good Food, Cape Light Compact will be there as well.
And they usually have free light bulbs whenever they're at events. Will they have that at this event?
Yes, absolutely.
And so a lot of those different entities, and you've named some of the 50, they'll be there to give people information about how to prepare at their home. But some of them are there actually to let people know how they can actually volunteer with some of those organizations. Is that right? For instance, the Red Cross and the Cape Cod Volunteers?
Yes, absolutely. And we have presentations that are scheduled every half hour. Actually, there will be 2 presentations going on simultaneous each half hour. And those presentations include how to become a Red Cross volunteer, where to get information before, during, and after emergencies, financial planning for disasters, MEMA will be presenting the Cape Cod Emergency Traffic Plan. NOAA will be on site and put on a presentation with regard to New England hurricane history. We also have the VNA with a wonderful presentation on preparing our elders for sheltering.
And that's the Visiting Nurses Association for people who don't know. And so, the interesting thing in Falmouth, Chief, I know that a number of years ago, the town of Falmouth put into place a system being particularly concerned about the town's large population of elderly to be able to check on people and to have people be able to, at the senior center, fill out some information so that the town is able to check on particularly people who are unable to leave their homes. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct, Laura. The Council of Aging in the town has a system where they have contact with all the elders in the population of the town, and they are one of the big groups that does need assistance during some type of a large event.
And so the different populations of the town that the town's emergency preparedness committee is particularly concerned with, seniors would probably be at the top of the list. And so for this particular event, this is a place seniors can come and families and anyone else and get all the information they might need for how they might want to stock their home should there be an emergency or that kind of thing. Is that right? Lots of lists and things for people?
That's absolutely correct. And a lot of these lists, it's a basic for us. We know that we ask people to be able to take care of themselves for up to the first 72 hours, because it's a good likelihood that in a large hurricane or a winter storm, they may be on their own for the first 72 hours. And there's some basic lists that we have. You can go on the ready.gov. It's at www.ready.gov. And that gives numerous lists of what you should have, up to a gallon of water a day, people to have some food, medications, all these things that you're going to need to help better take care of yourself for those initial 72 hours.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal. I'm talking with Falmouth Fire Chief Mark Sullivan and his executive assistant Kim Strohm. We're talking about the second annual Community Emergency Preparedness and Fire Prevention Fair, which is scheduled this year on Saturday, October 4th from 10 to 2 at the Gus Canty Community Center. Now, you mentioned people getting prepared for hurricanes. This is hurricane season. The different recommendations you give for people, and you were saying about having 72 hours worth of supplies. There was an event, I believe it was maybe 2 falls ago, where people lost power, some people for over a week. So that could happen too. What do you advise for that kind of situation, Chief?
Well, that's where we ask people to maybe have some batteries and possibly a portable radio to be able to stay in touch and to know when it may be safe to get back out or when power is going back on. So it's very tough during last year. I think the year before, when we had Nemo as a storm, was a winter storm, and people were without power again. And then they definitely took advantage of the sheltering aspects because they didn't have any heat. And so, keeping a few spare blankets put aside in the wintertime. But the basic needs of the water, the food, the medical supplies, things like that are key for people.
Now, you had the first version of this fair last year. How did that event go? Kim?
Oh, it was phenomenal. Much better than we expected. We really didn't know what to expect, having it been the first. And so we had approximately 35 participants last year and about 200 visitors to the fair of all ages. And so this year we've grown. We have over 50 participants. It was our goal to move into the second half of the gymnasium at Gus Canty. And instead of the presentations going on, one presentation each half hour, we've doubled that to 2 presentations each half hour. And we have a huge touch-a-truck component right out front in the parking area with the safe trailer. The U.S. Coast Guard is there. The fire department and police departments, the SWAT vehicles are there, the Sheriff's Command Center. So there's a huge component for the kids. Inside, we also have the Children's Coalition that has a huge children's section where they have coloring pages and they're given books. And there's free pizza and free hot dogs and free Smitty's ice cream. We also have a free giveaway for visiting a certain number of tables. So we're really, really expecting that this year is going to be as successful, if not more so, than last year.
So a lot of special things for children, and people should plan to bring their children to this event. It's really for families, but also for seniors and anyone else. Now, can people from other towns come to this event as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, we encourage it. In fact, last year we had a list for people to sign in where they came from, and they came from, for us, as far away as Nantucket and Connecticut. And so because this is really the only event of its kind on the Cape, we encourage anyone from anywhere to come because there's a wealth of information and everyone will walk away with something.
And you mentioned every half hour there will be, you said, two special presentations. Now, is there a schedule of those? How can people find out what's being presented at what time?
Absolutely. We will post the schedule on our Facebook page, Falmouth Emergency Preparedness, and the schedule will be posted on site as well as we will hand out the schedule as people come in. There's a welcome table there, and they can see what times each of those presentations are going to take place.
Now, Chief, you're also the town's emergency management director. And so, as the emergency management director, what types of duties fall into on your plate for that job? I know there's a large group of people that get together to plan what the town will do when there is an emergency of any kind, be it a hurricane or whatever else.
Yes, Falmouth, we I think back in around 2006 became certified as we have our own local emergency planning committee, which is LEPC committee. And we actually were pretty proud that we got that through even before the REPC, the Regional Emergency Planning Committee, was certified. So we take that pretty serious to try and prepare in the town of Falmouth to get our community prepared and how to react during an event. In this plan, we meet the fourth Thursday of the month, every month, and we have people from within the community, from within the municipality, the school department, the local authorities, some of the bigger organizations like Falmouth Hospital, Woods Hole Oceanographic. And we try and plan for different events and how the town would react and how their different agencies would react. One of the things we're working on right now is a mitigation plan, which would then allow us to be eligible for mitigation funds, which would help through FEMA, through the Federal Emergency Management Agency, we'd be able to get some funding to take preventative actions. For instance, if the bike path gets washed away every time there's a winter storm, every time there's a good storm, we can then plan. If we had this planning mitigation plan, we can then apply for funds to help mitigate that pre-storm.
And if there is a big emergency, of course, so many different entities are involved, and among those is one of our 4 radio stations, 99.9 WQRC, which will have round-the-clock weather and emergency information. What are some of the other entities you work with, Chief, when there is an emergency? I'm sure the sheriff comes in, of course, as you said, the regional emergency planning group. How do you all work together with these different groups?
Well, a few years ago, we became members of the Regional Emergency Planning Committee, or I'll say the REPC again, and that has put us in tune with everybody else on the Cape. And during large events, the REPC sort of manages these. We have communications probably 3 days out before the storm's coming, and we start planning as a region to prepare. And Falmouth has also become one of the regional shelters for the Cape and Islands. And that's something we just had local sheltering aspects before that. And that is great because that puts us in touch with the region as well as with we get other resources such as the American Red Cross, the Medical Reserve Corps, the Cape Cod disaster for the animal response teams. So we have all that, and we actually used those the last couple of events when we opened up our shelters. We actually, I think, had up to 300 clients during one of the events. And that was a huge event, but to have that region helping out, working together, it's a great system.
And that's amazing that you got 300 people who came to the shelter during one of the storms.
Yes.
And so where are the shelters in Falmouth these days?
The shelter is at the Falmouth High School.
Okay. So that's where you put people up. And I'm sure you use a lot of volunteers. If it does come to a situation where you do have to open the shelter, you need people to help out.
We do. We have people within the town that help out, become shelter managers, but we do depend heavily on the volunteers. Civilian emergency response team or a community emergency response team has been a great help in the past few years as far as staffing the shelter.
And I know one thing I've heard for people who live in Falmouth or anywhere on Cape Cod, being aware of if they have seniors or elderly neighbors on their street, to be aware when there's an emergency, to sort of be a good Samaritan and keep an eye on your neighbors. Is that right, Chief? Do you recommend that?
Oh, we do. Yes, we do. We've tried to reach out to some of the different community organizations to help promote that too. And it is a huge spot, not only just for Falmouth, but for a lot of the Cape. I think a good 30% of our population, I believe, we consider as the elderly population during the year-round population.
And another thing that comes up, and I think you'll have information about this at the fair, Kim, is people who have pets, that there are different things you should keep in mind if you have pets, if there is a storm coming. Is that right?
Absolutely. We are a pet-friendly shelter when we open the shelter because, as the chief mentioned, we have the support from the DART, which is Disaster Animal Response Team, and they run the animal component at the shelter. So actually one of the DART members will be giving a presentation on how to prepare your pets for sheltering. It's one of the other things that we ran into is, people were bringing their pets on a leash to the shelter, and thankfully we do have crates for them, but they had no food for them, and some of the animals needed medicine. So these are some of the topics that will be discussed at that presentation as well.
So many things to keep in mind if there is an emergency, but we've been talking about the second annual Community Emergency Preparedness and Fire Prevention Fair, which is taking place Saturday, October 4th from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. at the Gus Canny Community Center in Falmouth. Everyone's invited. I've been talking to Falmouth Fire Chief Mark Sullivan and his administrative assistant Kim Strohm. Thank you both for coming today.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal.
This podcast is a presentation of Cape Cod Broadcasting, which is solely responsible for its content. Thank you for listening. For more information, please visit us at capecodbroadcasting.com.